Hello and welcome to another episode of Draft Gym TV. As always, you are joined by me, Andy, FPL Teach Mode, and we are through the group stages. Can't believe it. We have gone through the group stages. We are obviously thinking about FanTeam. We're thinking about the daily fantasy competition that they've got going for us, trying to win that share of the 1 million prize pool. So we're excited to get through to the knockout stages because now we really start to push. This is where the big decisions get made now. So you've been building up your foundation, trying to get yourself a good amount of points ready for the next stage. And this is where it starts getting into the business end, I would say. Cheers for anybody that's in the chat already. I've seen a few people that are in there. Clean Sheet Wipeouts in there. Aaron Wiley, great to hear that you're 98th. Fantastic, mate. If you can get that top 50 finish, you're going to be laughing. Kyle's in the chat. Corf FPL is up there as well. Pleased to have you all in there, obviously. We've had a few questions already, so I'll try and answer those once we get going because I'm excited to get going and start talking about this. There's so much to talk about. It's unbelievable at the moment. So, like I said, thank you very much if you're in the chat. If you are in the chat, make sure you like and subscribe. Thank you very much. Over at Draft Gym, we've got so much fantastic content coming out at the moment. There's been a lot coming out in the last couple of days, so make sure you check it out. Especially today, there is an article from Montefly, absolutely essential reading. Make sure you get on it because it will help you win money later on. If you had a look, Montefly was in the top 10 at one point, so make sure you do get on it. Very, very quickly, just having a look at people in the chat. Like I said, Aaron Wiley's in the chat. He said he is going to push from 98th position, which I think is a very, very good idea. I think you've always got to push. You might as well, haven't you? It's the difference between maybe winning £100 less and maybe winning a couple grand more. So you've got to push. Clean Sheet Wipeout says, hey, mate, do you think we're in danger of overloading too heavy on our side of the draw? If Denmark and Sweden go out, we may have an issue with only Netherlands from that side in our squad. Yeah, I genuinely think that could be a bit of an issue. Denmark and Sweden, I've actually backed quite heavily because I quite like their first fixture and their lovely enablers. I think I'm going to talk about it a little bit later on. I feel like that England or Germany decision is going to be big. That is going to be the big decision. So we're going to talk about that a little bit later on. We're also going to talk about a few strategies for how you can do well moving forward because I think it kind of depends on the personality you have and who you are and what you want to do from this game. Like if you're somebody that just wants to cash, make sure you finish in the top 10k. You're going to be playing this game very differently to someone like Aaron who's in the chat, who's 98th and wants to push higher up. You're going to be playing very differently. If you've got more than one entry, you might be playing differently as well with some of your lower ones compared to some of your higher ones. So we're going to have a bit of a chat about that. And if you've got any questions, make sure you chuck them in as well. I should say, by the way, the graphics down below, it's completely my fault. I completely forgot to update them before the stream. So the ownership you can see is before game week 3 started. So I do apologise for that. But it gives you an overview of kind of how highly owned people were before that anyway. And the points are as well, I'm afraid. I mean, we say that. It's all going to change now going into knockout stages anyway. So the ownership's going to completely change because we all get to wildcard. And obviously the points is slightly different now as well. So Kyle, looking forward to it. I've got 2 teams top 300 and all thanks to your content. Some huge calls needed tonight. Well done, Kyle. I'm really pleased about that, mate. That's awesome. Gil and Corfa in the chat. Cheers for coming on, lads. Kyle, 2 in the top 300 is absolutely fantastic. Well done. Hopefully my content can help you really push and maybe get into that top 100 because it can happen. Captaincy is going to be the big thing as well. So let's have a look at how I'm getting on. I'm not going to lie, I'm a little bit disappointed. I backed a few different captains going into match day 3, and I wish I hadn't. I was all about Depay going into that match day, and I only captained Depay in one of my top 4 because I went for De Bruyne in one, I went for Havertz in one, and I went for Lukaku, I think it was, in one. So I'm a little bit disappointed. I thought I was going to, push on a little bit more than I have. I've got one sitting okay at, around 1k, and then I've got 2 that are in the cash. I've also got those 3 that are in 12k, 15k, 15k that I'm going to try and push on and just try and cash as much as possible. That 1k one, though, I'm actually going quite template with it, but I'll show you it in a little bit. So I think I would be wrong to say I'm not disappointed. I'm a little bit disappointed with my entries at the moment, but we've still got quite a few match days to go. It is sometimes a lot harder to climb up in these match days because there is going to be a template. We know who's good. There is a smaller pool of players, which is why getting that foundation is so important. But at the same time, captaincy's big, and there is more room to go different because there's going to be such a template. So we're going to talk about that in a little bit of time. Aaron Wiley says, on my bench I have one player from Sweden and one from Ukraine. That way you've got a guaranteed enabler for the quarterfinal, which may save you a transfer. Yeah, it is a way to go. I'm going to talk about it now. I was going to talk about it in a little bit, but I feel that there's two ways of doing it. You either do that and you make sure you've got somebody for the next round, or you back your predictions and you think about who you think's going to go all the way. I say all the way, semi-finals, final, because you're not going to have only players that you think are going to play in the final. For me, I'm a more eggs in one basket kind of guy. I've gone, triple Sweden in one because you never know, they might do okay. But I'm more that kind of guy. I don't like the idea of I'm definitely going to have a player that's out in the next round. I'm not a massive fan of that. So I've tried to use the odds, and I'll show you the odds in a little bit as well, to kind of guess who I think is going to win as they go through, and that's the way I've played it. If you are somebody like Aaron that is looking at it more of a, I want to make sure I've got some players moving forward, and that's absolutely fine, and that is a way of playing it. It's just not the way I play it. So we'll probably see towards the end which one's the better way of playing it, but I'm more of an eggs in one basket kind of guy. Ben PZ's in the chat. Evening. I was checking out your entries recently. Actually, you're not going too bad considering you said you had quite a bad start. So well done, mate. FPL Raptor Ross is in the chat here to copy your teams. Yeah, cheers. I think you'll be surprised. I think we're going to be quite close. Although we were having a bit of a chat the other day about Belgium and what we thought they'd do. Carl, thanks. 2 teams is luxury. Perhaps I push with one, play safe with the other. I think I would probably be doing that. I'd be pushing and trying to pull one up because, in the end, you're better off having one finish high. That's what you want. Rather than having 2 cashing, you're better off having one finishing really high. That is definitely the way to go. Clean sheet wipeout. Like you, I have a few around 12, 15k as well as those in the cash. What strategy are you taking for those teams lower in the ranks? I am going balls out with them. I'm not going to lie. I am really going for it in all of those. In one, I've got triple Belgium because Belgium have such a tough run, but they're the team that could do well. I've got triple England in one of them. Triple England defence, I think it is actually. I've got triple Germany in another one because the way I look at it, if I've got 2 or 3 in that position, I want them all to be completely different and one to zoom up if I can. The other way of doing it is to make them all exactly the same and hope you get it right and they all get further up. But I think the amount of teams that are going to be template, it's going to be tough to do that. So I think differentiate with them. Treat them as lost causes and just go for it and hope one really goes through. We're going to get on to England-Germany a little bit later because I think that is the key battle for me. England-Germany, whoever wins that gets a nice quarter-final. And then if they win that one, they actually get not too bad a semi-final. It depends what you think about the Netherlands. So if you can choose out of England and Germany who you think is going to do well and you back them to the hilt, I think that's a really good idea. There's also another tactic of potentially having one England player and one Germany player on your bench. I quite like that tactic. The only thing for me is that I'm finding it really hard with the budget to get a team I like having an England and a Germany player on the bench. Again, one's going to be knocked out, but then at least you're set with an England player or Germany player going into the semi-finals. You can bring maybe another 2 in. Remember, we get 3 transfers this week, moving into next week. We get 3 transfers the next week as well, and we can roll one in that first match day as well. I am going to try my hardest. This is the whole eggs in the basket kind of strategy. I'm going to be trying my hardest to make sure I can roll a transfer. 4 transfers going in that match day is going to be huge. So make sure, if you can, that you do. If not, using those transfers is also a strategy because 3 in both match days is quite a lot, actually. I quite like that. And remember, the allocation that we can have on each team increases as it goes on. So make sure you've read the rules and make sure you know what you're trying to aim for. Hammer83, evening guys. Who do we think is the best captain pick? I'm thinking Depay, but I've mixed my captains across my 4 teams. Yeah, so I mean, it's really hard to go against Depay. It really is. I think if you're near the top, I think you go with Depay, but you try and go different around the team, if that makes sense. So you hope the rest of the team does it. Last time we saw, Depay was around 70% owned, and he was... You think about it, if you're not captaining him, his EO is going to be above 100%. Although I hate talking about effective ownership, it's going to be real in something like this when you're talking about money. So if you're looking at someone like Depay, if you're near the top, you've got a captain. Everybody around you is going to be captaining him. If you're going to try and get into the top 10k, Yes, you can still captain him, but I think you're going to have some differentials around somewhere. Players that not a lot of other people are going for. So for me, I think Depay is the standout captain. I think Immobile's up there as well. I really like Italy in their fixture against Czech Republic. So against Austria, sorry. And I do. It's so hard to go against Depay. Wijnaldum has also been very good. So if you own Depay and you own Wijnaldum, captaining Wijnaldum isn't a bad option. It's just the fact Depay's got such a high ceiling and such a high floor because of those penalties as well. I think Spain are tough because against Croatia, I mean, they've not been the best attacking wise. I think against Slovakia, they showed us what they could do, but I don't think they're going to be doing that in the knockout stages personally. And then France. Why not? Why not Griezmann? I believe that Griezmann is still on penalties, so I wouldn't believe that because Benzema took it, it's now Benzema on penalties. I'm pretty sure it's still Griezmann. I think he just gave Benzema that penalty just to kind of lift him up and to give him a goal, which obviously worked. So, Motley Barnett's, what do you make of Isak's chances? Should be a good differential considering no one has heard of him. Yes, well done, mate. I hadn't heard of him, but he's in most of my teams now, so there you go. Ben PZ, yeah, terrible start. Scrambling my way back slowly. I've noticed, mate, you're doing very well now. You've done very well to get as many as you have in the cash place as well. That's something that I need to get better at next year. Tobias Muller, Mbappe, Spinazzola. I'm wondering with Mbappe whether he is going to come alive in the knockout stages. It worries me what I've seen so far. It genuinely worries me what I've seen so far. He seems to be getting a few chances, but it all seems to be quite snatching at chances, and he hasn't quite looked on the rhythm at the moment, whereas Benzema looks very, very good. Griezmann seems to get back a lot. Griezmann seems to be doing the hard work for the team, where Benzema's there to score the goals, and Mbappe's just your wild card, isn't he, where he's going to roam around everywhere. So it's not just because he scored the 2 goals against Portugal. I am favouring Benzema at the moment, and Mbappe is 3 million more, I think, than Benzema. So I have been favouring Benzema in a lot of my teams at the moment. Right. Ben PZ says he's here for some tips. Yeah, hopefully, mate. So am I. Rich P, evening, mate. Loving your work. Gil says Mbappe is due. I do completely agree. He is due, but I'm not sure it's coming. I'm really not sure. Daniel Curtis, evening, Andy. Loving this. James Winstanley says best Italy midfielder is Insigne, worth 0.5 million more than Berardi. Do you know what? At the moment, I'm saying he isn't. I am, in most of my team, I'm going Berardi over Insigne. I like Insigne, but I don't see where the value's there. I think Berardi's the better value. Berardi's the one that's cutting to the byline, crossing the ball in, getting the assists. Insigne's looking to flatter to deceive. We said this in the streams before it all kicked off, that I was worried that Insigne just never seems to do it for his country. He has all those flashes and never seems to really do it. And he's had an okay tournament, don't get me wrong. He hasn't been terrible or anything, but I just think Berardi's probably the better punt at the moment. Right. Before I talk anymore, because I've answered a lot of questions already, let's have a look at this tournament tree. So if we just have a look through the fixtures first, Belgium-Portugal, big game there. I would, and I think I've done this in most of my teams as well, I would back still having Lukaku and Ronaldo. I don't see any issue with that, really. You know that one of them is going to be knocked out, but this could be a massive scoring game. It really could. Portugal leaves so much room for opposition players. De Bruyne and Lukaku, I think, could have an absolute field day in this game. De Bruyne in particular, that gap between midfield and defence could be exploited so easily by De Bruyne, and I'm seeing De Bruyne in so little teams. This is the chat that I was having with Raptor not too long ago, so Ross, it's in the chat already. I think, for me, I really want to back Belgium. I really do. I know they've got a hard route. If they beat Portugal, they're most probably going to have Italy, and they're most probably going to have France, which is a hard route. But someone's got to go through that route, haven't they? If it's not them, it'll be Italy potentially, and people are backing Italy to the hilt. So I've always said with Belgium, we haven't seen the best of them yet. We saw them without De Bruyne in the first game, won 3-0. Saw them in the next game against Denmark with all that emotion. Then De Bruyne came on and destroyed Denmark. And then the last game, yes, De Bruyne played. Yes, Hazard played. But it was a bit of a makeshift team. Defence was a bit different. I think we're going to see the best of Belgium in these knockout stages. I could be completely wrong, but I would be very tempted to back Belgium to the hilt, personally. I think it could be a high-scoring game. I think Ronaldo should carry on. I think Lukaku should carry on. And I'd be loving to back De Bruyne to do something as well. Yeah, Gil says, whoever is on that left wing will definitely get chances versus Semedo. Very, very true. Semedo looked... Yeah, not very good against Germany. And shock horror, that's the one game Germany have looked quality in, was against Portugal. So I am backing Belgium to win that game. That is me personally. Rob Pick, evening Andy. If you were choosing between Romelu and Ronaldo, assume you would go Romelu. Yeah, I would. I think so. Ronaldo has an incredible tournament so far. There's been a lot of penalties. But... if I had to pick between the two, I'd go for Lukaku, personally. I think Belgium have more about them to be able to go further forward. Italy-Austria, I think you've got to back that Italy clean sheet. You know, Spinazzola has been in every single one of my drafts. Doesn't matter where the team is. Spinazzola gets forward. He's like a left winger. I think that's absolutely fine. I've already said I think I'd back Berardi more than Insigne, just as a value pick, personally. Immobile... I'm still wondering how many goals Italy are going to score. Wondering whether Immobile, Insigne, people like that are going to be worth the while. But we'll see what happens with Italy. I think you've got to back Italy because they're going to be so heavily backed by everybody else. So we'll see how that goes. But you would back them against Austria, and then against Belgium, if it is Belgium or Portugal, it's going to be a hell of a game. So I don't see a problem with people backing Italy. FPL Raptor says triple Belgium would be a huge differential, Andy. It would be a huge differential. But I genuinely think you've got to do it. Especially if you're not quite where you want to be and you want to push forward, you can't just go template. You've got to try and go for it a little bit. I struggle a little bit with triple Belgium because I wonder who that third Belgian player would be. I think De Bruyne and Lukaku is absolutely fine, but I wonder with that third one who it would be. Thorgan Hazard actually did quite well in my team in the group stages, but Meunier, I guess, but he's kind of been in and out. And against Portugal, I'm not expecting a clean sheet, so I'm struggling to think of that other player. So let's have a look. Yeah, France, Switzerland. I've got triple France in pretty much all of my teams. Benzema, like I said, I am more into than the other two. Pogba, I have started to put in all my teams. Oh, the world-class passes he was doing in that game against Portugal were just sublime. Honestly, he turns it on for France. Why we don't see this for Man United week in, week out, I don't know. He would still be the best player in the world if he was. So, for me, I've put Pogba in a lot of mine. I have swerved the wing-backs in France a little bit. Hernandez and Mbappe seem to be a little bit all over the place at the moment. Dean came in for 6 minutes and now he's out. So Hernandez is probably more likely to play, but Pavard in and out, and I don't really fancy it with those wing backs at the moment. And actually, they don't seem to be getting a lot of attacking returns anyway. So I've been all over Kimpembe because I think he's 0.5 million less, so that seems like good value. But if you want to go for Varane, knowing he will 100% play, then I don't blame you. So yeah, I fancy France still to go all the way, personally. And then we got Croatia versus Spain. I back Spain to win that game. I back them to keep a clean sheet. If you're going with Spanish defenders, that's fine. I think I would probably only go for one Spanish defender, considering that they are going to have a tough game against France in that next round. It is worth saying, by the way, that if it's 0-0 after in 90 minutes, you'll get your clean sheet. You don't need to worry about extra time. Extra time does not count towards your points. So make sure, if you think it's going to be 0-0, back the defenders. You know, if you think France-Spain's going to be 0-0 when they get there and you don't think there's going to be many goals, go for it. You know, go for France and Spain defenders. You're going to get 2 games of potential clean sheets there. So do go for it if you need to. I was having a chat with somebody the other day as well, saying that, are you going to avoid players if you think they're going to get knocked out in the semi-final? No. Go for those players because you've got, 1, 2, 3 fixtures of players that you think are going to do well. Back them. It doesn't matter. There's no optimal strategy, I don't think, in these knockout stages. You've just got to go for it and believe in your gut. Who do you think is going to go far? I've got Forsberg in a lot of my drafts. He is ridiculously cheap. He's had an incredible tournament and he's got Ukraine first. Why can't he score against England or Germany in the next round? That's the kind of thing you want to be looking at. Don't be put off players just because you don't think they're going to get very far. If they get you points in that first round, if Forsberg scores 2 against Ukraine, he could be the top goal scorer for the next 2 weeks. So just don't be put off by things like that. Arwin Vobe, evening Andy, where do you see a shock coming? Wondering if it's worth going against the grain in one of my lower ranked sides. Yeah, Shocks. Do you know what? It's going to be tough. Spain haven't massively impressed me yet. They really haven't massively impressed me. Yes, they won 5-0 against Slovakia, but apart from that, I don't think they've actually been that great. So Croatia could provide an upset, but then I don't expect much against France. I still think France will make it to the final. I think Portugal, Belgium, I don't think either of them winning would mean it's an upset, so I think that's a bit of a tough one. I fancy Sweden to beat Ukraine. We'll talk about that one in a minute. And then the only other one, I guess, is Wales, Denmark. I think a lot of people are backing Denmark. Denmark have only won one game. That's literally it. They've won one game and they've lost their talisman and they are running on the power of love at the moment. They literally are. So I wouldn't be that shocked if Wales won that fixture. I've backed Denmark a lot, but I wouldn't be that shocked. And in one of my entries, and you'll see it in a minute, I've actually got 2 Denmark defenders on my bench and Bale. So I'm expecting, obviously, one of them to go out. Obviously, they will. And then you're going to have, those players going into the next round. So I wouldn't be that shocked if Wales beat them. So Ollie Blake, who do you see as the best differential captain picks? Differential. I tell you what, I think Wijnaldum could be a good differential pick. Everybody's going to be on Depay. Wijnaldum is not a bad pick. He plays so far forward for Netherlands, and he is a proper talisman for their team. So I think he's a good pick. If you can pick somebody out of England or Germany you think is going to do well, Havertz is having a good tournament. If you can pick somebody like that and you think they might score, that's fine. I think it's tough to think that England are going to concede too many, so it's not a very high upside differential captain, but that's fine. France, I think if you go for any of those strikers, I think if you are going to go against Benzema and you captain somebody like Griezmann or Mbappe, absolutely fine doing that. I think they're going to be very lowly owned in terms of captaincy, so that's great. And Belgium or Portugal. If you captain Ronaldo or Lukaku, you'd be surprised how many points you could gain. The only thing is you're going to have to be benchmarking it against Depay. How many goals do you think Depay is going to score? And do you think somebody's going to go against that? It could happen, and I think that France fixture is probably the way forward for that. Arnab Roy Chowdhury saying Dumfries is captain. Yeah, I've seen that banded around a bit. Is he really going to carry it on? Is he really going to score another goal? 3 goals for a defender that's not on penalties or not on set pieces? I suppose it could happen. He gets so far forward. I mean, the wing-backs in this are just loving life in the tournament at the moment. So, personally, it's not something I would do. You only need Czech Republic to score a goal. You only need Schick to score a ridiculous goal. And then all of a sudden, Dumfries' captaincy has put you right in the mud. So, I would do it if I had multiple entries and there was one that I wasn't caring as much about. But if it was one that I was really caring about, I don't think I could do it. Simon Thompson says, what about captaining Immobile? Yeah, you can. It'll probably be the last time you do captain Immobile in this whole tournament. Italy have impressed. I just wonder, like I said, whether they're going to start managing games a bit more, keeping the possession. The thing they might do against Austria is they might get 0-0 at half-time and then they might destroy them in the second half because that possession starts to tell its toll on Austria. So that is something that could happen. I haven't captained Immobile in any of my teams, if I'm honest, because I struggle to see him scoring more than 1 goal, and I feel like there's better upside in other teams. But if you fancy it, then definitely go for it. Rob Pick, do you think Weghorst or Marlon starts? Think they look better with Marlon? Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think they're going to be going Marlon. He looked good. He's a classy player. I know he's been linked with Liverpool, I think, this week. Yeah, he's a classy player. I think if it were me, I would be starting Marlon. It's just tough with Netherlands because you look at the Netherlands and 2 picks are picked already for me. Well, I say that 3 picks. Wijnaldum, Depay, and Dumfries are picked already. But then you look at it, and I was talking to somebody about this the other day saying, but then you've got Stekelenburg, 4.7 million, I think he is. Brilliant. Goalkeeper that you're expecting to keep quite a few clean sheets in these knockout stages, and that takes up a Netherlands spot. So what I'm doing, I think I'm going to go premium with my goalkeeper this week, and then I might try and get Stekelenburg in next week potentially. That is a way round of doing it. But yeah, I think Marlon. If you're going to get Marlon, who are you going to take out? I can't take out Wijnaldum. I can't take out Dumfries. I can't take out Depay. So Marlon's going to be a tough one to fit in. But if you fancy it, definitely go for it. Ollie Blake says thanks. Didn't realise that so many were going to be on Depay. Yeah, he's going to be the top owned. Like I said, he was over 70% owned before during match day 3. He'll most probably be more than that or around about the same. And the amount that are going to captain him as well is EO is going to be around 140%, 150%. So it's going to be high. Kyle, how many goal involvements do you predict from Depay? Just this week, I fancy a goal and an assist, probably. At least a goal, I would have said. It's the penalties as well. That's the thing. Like it gives him such a high floor. Simon Thompson, only on one team, so going against Depay seems bold for Cap. It does, but it depends how you want to play it. It really does depend how you want to play it. For me, like I said, I'm an eggs all in one basket guy. I think if you're... I was thinking about this today, actually, and I was thinking about what I was going to say on the stream. If this is your first FanTeam tournament, and this is your first time playing in a tournament like this, why not see how you feel after doing something? So maybe go template, maybe go Depay captain, and at the end of this tournament, think to yourself, was I happy with it afterwards? Was it something that I thought, actually, no, I'm happy I went template. I'm happy I cashed out. Happy I got 50 quid back, whatever it is. And that's what I want to do moving forward. Or do you do it and think, only got 50 quid back. I could have pushed for that. You know, Depay didn't do very well in the end, and I could have pushed. Maybe use this as a bit of an assessment for yourself and then reinvest that money. And the next time you go into a tournament, think, right, I'm going to play this the way I now know I want to play it, because I think that's really important. I've always been a pusher. I was talking to Aaron earlier. He was saying that he's a pusher as well. If you know that's you, go for it. If you know that when you think about how much money you put into it to how much money you could get back, it's a no-brainer for me. But other people think very differently and they want to try and cash as many as possible. So you just have to think about what kind of a person you are. Clean sheet wipeout. What do you make of a Bale, Ramsey, Rodon triple up in a lower team? Massive enablers, and we've seen how well Bale and Ramsey link up. Target Denmark and Netherlands as a differential. I don't mind it. It's so tough. I like Bale. I really like Bale because he's one of the only players that is going to be low owned and is cheaper that can get a brace. He genuinely is. You know, when you look at it, it's probably him. It's probably Forsberg that could get a brace as well. And there's not many other midfielders or strikers that probably could. So I do like Bale. Like I said, I've got Bale on my bench in my best team. And I think it's because I can bring him on with confidence and think he could do something. They're so hard to pick midfielders at that 6-7 range. Forsberg is just in so many of my teams because he's in such great form. And Bale just seems to keep entering them as well. I don't mind Ramsey, but Bale is definitely the optimal pick if you wanted to go for Wales. Rob Pitt, could you just confirm how many players from each country we are allowed after last 16? And also points stop at 90 minutes, correct? Yes, points definitely stop at 90 minutes. How many players you can have from each team? I believe it's 4 in the next round, then 5 in the next round, then 6 in the final. I think that's the way it goes. But remember, you get 3 transfers in the next one, and then you can roll 1 if you want to, but only 1, and then you'll have 4 going into the semis. And then once you pick your semi-final team, the only thing you can change is captaincy. That's the only thing you can change. So you need to pick that semi-final team and make sure that it is ready for the final. So make sure you do that. People will mess up. So if you keep focusing and making sure that your team is ready, you can climb the ranks. Be assured of that. Ollie Blake, think for a real differential. I'm going triple Turkey. Dark horses and expecting low ownership. Yeah, that'd be a differential, wouldn't it? Bloody Turkey. What a waste of time they were. Simon Thompson, what do you make of Forsberg Yarmolenko combo? Guaranteed one gets through. Yeah, you can do it. This is what we were talking about before. I don't massively like that personally. Yes, you can do it. A lot of people are thinking about doing stuff like that. For me, I'm just not that interested. I would rather have Forsberg and Larson rather than having Forsberg and Yarmolenko. Could be a bit of a shootout that game, but I don't really see it personally. I feel like Sweden might win 1-0. They've got good defence, so I find it hard not to pick those Swedish players in my team. Corf FPL, other than Ronaldo, are there any Portuguese players you fancy for a Portugal draft, Andy? Bloody Bruno got benched the other day, didn't he? Yes, I still like Bernardo Silva. He's so involved. He really is so involved. Jota, he had that game where he got a goal and got an assist, and he kept swapping Ronaldo. I just don't like him. Ronaldo's the one, isn't he? He's the one on pens. He's the one that's going to be having all the shots. So I think Ronaldo's probably it for me. If I really wanted to go for it, Bruno worries me now, and he hasn't really been in this tournament yet. He looks shattered still. So I think it would be Bernardo Silva if I had to pick somebody else, and then Jota would be a third place as well. There you go. FPL Raptor says, 4 in the quarterfinals, 7 in the semi-finals and finals. That's what it is. Sorry, thank you. Rob Pick, love a Jota punt. If Portugal do win, I think he could do some damage alongside Ronaldo versus Belgium defence. Yeah, he could. I'm back in Belgium. I've been saying it all from the beginning. I think they're going to show their best now in the knockouts. Arwin says, I'd pick Roberts before Rodon for the Welsh defence. Better attacking threat. Yeah, no, I like that. It's something I've said as well to a lot of people picking Italian players. If you wanted a double up, I'd be picking Spinazzola and Donnarumma, because at least then you get save points and you get that attacking intent. Whereas Bonucci, you're not really getting a lot else, are you? Right. On to England-Germany. For me, this is the fixture. If you can back yourself as to who you think is going to win that fixture, and I genuinely think is about 50-50 at the moment for me. A lot of people, there's a real difference in that. Some people are saying they fancy England. Some people are saying they fancy Germany. I think England are going to do it. I do. I just think we are playing better tournament football than we ever have. We have proper intentions as to how we want to play. And Germany have only impressed me in one game. They've genuinely only impressed me in one game. And that was one against Portugal. And that said more about Portugal than Germany for me. So I think we could do it. And I just need to back myself a bit more to say, actually, I think we're going to do it. And I put, double England defence in my team. Whoever wins out of England and Germany have a lovely next fixture. And then could have a nice fixture against Netherlands if it's them that get through. If not, it could be Denmark, could be Wales, whatever it is. If you can pick who you think is going to win out of those two teams, I think you could be in a very, very good position for the rest of these knockout stages. I think you could be picking that team that could get all the way to the final. The tough thing is picking who it is. As I said, one of my tactics, which I don't normally like doing, but I think the upside is so massive, is picking one England defender and maybe Goossens as well on your bench, and then being able to pick the other two and get them in your team the next week. I think that could be a very, very good tactic. So have a look at that and think about whether you want to go for that. I think I'm definitely going to do that in one of my entries, and maybe in my third entry, the one that's going all Belgium as well. Really, really go for it. So if you want to do that, I don't blame you at all. Arnab, please explain goalkeeping strategy, please. And Goossens or mid forward for Germany. Yeah, I think if you're going to go with Germany, you've got to go Goossens, Havertz. Probably Gnabry, but Gnabry's been awful so far. Sane, by the way, Jesus Christ, how bad has he looked? He's not the player he was at City, is he? So yes, goalkeeper strategy. I think for me, you've got to pick a goalkeeper you expect to go all the way. You don't want to be messing around with goalkeeper. If your goalkeeper gets knocked out, so genuinely, if you went for Donnarumma and Italy somehow got knocked out against Austria, the last person I would be thinking about transferring out, unless I had nothing wrong with my team, the last person I'd be thinking about transferring out is my goalkeeper. The upside just isn't there. We can't expect a Hiradeki from game week 1 where they save a penalty. The upside just isn't there. So you've got to use your transfers on midfielders, defenders, or wing backs in defence if you really want to go that way. You cannot be wasting it on central defenders, on goalkeepers, because you're just not going to be getting those points. You only need a goal against and that's it. Whereas someone like Lukaku, you can bring him in. Yes, they might lose the game and you lose him again, but in the same respect, he might score a brace. So you've got to focus on midfielders and strikers. Simon Thompson, thoughts on KDB versus Lukaku? Yes, please. I'd like both. You've got to go Lukaku out of the two of them, but De Bruyne, I think, if you wanted to own both and you wanted to go a bit different, maybe captain De Bruyne. But I think my preference would definitely be both. Aaron Wiley, do you think some players will be priced out of a good 11 down the line? What's your thought on banking as much money as possible? You can bank as much money as possible. The thing is, because Belgium are playing Portugal first, you're going to have one of your strikers most probably being knocked out in that first round. So Lukaku or Ronaldo. Because of that, they're expensive anyway, so you can knock them down to somebody like Immobile potentially. I'm not a massive fan of keeping too much money in the bank and try. You need to attack these fixtures now. Like you need to get points now, or get them on the board now, and then keep attacking as you go on. You've got those transfers for a reason. Use them and try and get as many points in each round. I genuinely think there's going to be people out there that try and plan too much into the future and miss out on points now. Like I said, I've got Forsberg in so many of my teams because I genuinely think he could get a brace in this fixture. Bales on my bench in one team. I could easily plug him in, and he could get a brace in this fixture. So do try and attack these fixtures now. Be mindful of what's going on next, but there's no point only thinking about the future and then getting no bloody points in this round and already being out of it, and then but you're well set up. Get points on the board now as well. Adam Andrews, tricky one. Who is your top 3 England players? Stones, Shaw, and Pickford probably. Really tough to go with any of their attacking players personally. I think England are a team that are playing a certain way of football. They are frustrating people. They have already come out. I think it was Maguire that came out and said that they are trying to minimise the chances opposition get. So those big moments that opposition get, and they're trying to make the most of the big moments they get. So they are not trying to make loads of moments in a game. We are not going to be winning games 2-3-0. It's not going to happen the way we're playing. We're going to be winning 1-0 if we're going to win, or 0-0 and try and get the penalties. So you've got to back their defence more than anything else. So Stones, sure, at least you can get a little bit of attacking output potentially. Maguire, I think Maguire looked very good actually in the last game. He was getting forward and he put in that lovely pass. I can't remember who it was for now, but it was cutting through and the person had a shot. Can't remember who it was. And then Pickford for me. It sounds boring, but it's the way they're looking at the moment. James Winstanley, thanks for answering my question before. Just to clarify, you can roll transfers from quarters to semi, but not from semi to final. Is that correct? Yes, because the semi to the final, your semi team is your final team, so there's no transfers from there. Kyle Barkman, 4.1 million. Thoughts? Yep, I've got him in a lot of my teams because he's 4.1 million, and it means I can have a premium keeper that I think is going to go really far. So yes, I've got Barkman in mind, because if my premium keeper gets knocked out, there you go. Either he gets knocked out. I'm not going to be wasting transfers on a keeper. So let's have a look. I've answered a lot of questions and I keep forgetting I've got some more stuff to show you. Right, these are the odds for who the general public odds actually think are going to win. So we've got France are still favourites, which I completely agree with. Italy are second favourites. I didn't realise Italy were being backed quite as heavily as they are. I know they've looked good in group stages, but I want to see what they look like in knockout tournaments. So, yeah, England third, Germany, like we said, that is the big thing for me. It really, really is. That is the fixture. England, Germany. If you can pick a winner out of those two, you're going to do them very, very well. Spain next, don't see that personally. I do not see them going very far after. They got France in the next stage. I don't see them getting past that. Netherlands next. I would put Netherlands above Spain. Personally, I think Netherlands have more of a chance of reaching the semis and the final. And then my beloved Belgium, look at them all the way down there. So you can see how it does, France and Belgium, quite a big gap between them. But I do fancy Belgium to do quite well. They are my team I think I would punt on if I was trying to go really differential. Then let's have a look. So we've got my first entry. This is my first entry. This is my team that is at the top. So this is my team that's in 1K position at the moment. Got the double Italy defence for that first fixture. Triple France. Varane, Pogba, Benzema. I could easily go for Kimpembe there as well. Dumfries, Depay, Wijnaldum. Absolutely love all three of them. They've had a wicked tournament so far, so they should be fine. Forsberg is finding his way into all of my teams at the moment. And then Lukaku, Ronaldo, Benzema, I think speaks for itself, really. Lukaku and Ronaldo could, whichever one gets knocked out, will most probably become someone like Immobile. They could even get downgraded a little bit more if I wanted them to as well. They could also be a bit of a cash cow, so I could upgrade a midfielder if I wanted to do that too. And then on my bench, I'm back in Denmark. Schmeichel and Mæhle. At least then I know I'm potentially going to have some players going forward. So Bale's also on there as well. And then Danielson, he seems to be the person they're aiming for with their set pieces. So I quite like him as an option too. So that is my template. This should do well team. There's no reason why this team shouldn't do well. Then I have got this is my second entry. So again, I've backed Netherlands, but I've backed the double Netherlands defence. I've got Stekelenburg and Dumfries. Haven't got Wijnaldum in this one. I got Depay. I've got triple Italy, and I've looked at their attack a little bit here as well. So Insigne and Immobile. Again, and I've said it on the stream already, I think I would probably back Berardi a little bit more than Insigne, but I've just put Insigne in there as a bit of a placeholder at the moment. You can see that spine of France again. I fancy France. They've got to keep going. So Varane, Pogba and Griezmann this time because, like I said, I think he's still going to be on penalties anyway. Lukaku, Forsberg. You're going to see Forsberg a lot tonight. And then Barkman in goal, which somebody asked earlier. Augustinson. I hate saying his name. He is there because I like that Swedish defence. Havertz. Yeah, that's right, because I've backed Germany to beat England a little bit there. Maybe I should, maybe I shouldn't. And then Mailer because he's a bit of a high upside Denmark defender. And then this is my third entry. So this is where I have ignored Italy, completely ignored Italy. You will notice, by the way, I haven't backed Portugal in any of them. I've got Ronaldo in one or two, but that's it. Kimpembe, Pogba, Benzema. That triple France is in all of mine. It's got to be. I really fancy him to do well. Triple Sweden. Woohoo! And then I've also got Lukaku as captain and then De Bruyne. I've got to put my balls on the liner and say that I do fancy Belgium to do well, so I've got to have one entry like this. So that could be quite interesting. Hopefully, Sweden keep a clean sheet against Ukraine. Then this team will start really flying. We got a few more questions and then I will leave you to it, guys. Clean sheet wipeout. Top 3 forward picks to start with. For me, it's Lukaku, Benzema and Immobile, but I'm seeing a lot with Ronaldo in there too. Get that front 3 right and it could ensure you don't waste a transfer. Yeah, but is it wasting a transfer? If Ronaldo, Lukaku and Benzema all score 1 goal, 2 goals, I don't see it as wasting a transfer. I see that as gaining points. Is Immobile better than Ronaldo? No, I don't think he is. So when you've got Belgium playing Portugal, I see that being quite a shootout. I see that having quite a few goals. And Lukaku's been in a lot of my teams. I fancy him to still do well. And I don't see it as wasting a transfer. I see those transfers as back players in this round. Now, who are you going to back in the next round? And use those transfers like that. Don't think of it as, oh shit, I picked the wrong players. Now I've got to use my transfers. Think of it as, brilliant, they got me the points. Oh well, they're knocked out. Now let's use my transfers and change it. But it's just the way of doing it, really. I've got triple Denmark in there as well. I've seen a lot of people backing Denmark to get to the semi-finals, which I think is just crazy. I genuinely do. For a team that has only won 1 game, I don't really see it. I know Portugal drew 3 games and won the whole thing, but I don't see it myself personally. But I back them in there just in case, because you never know. Like I said, the power of love could do really well. Aaron Wiley, great stream as always, mate. All the best for the knockouts. Yeah, drop me a DM, mate. I want to keep track of how you're getting on. Make sure you finish in the top 50 if you can. Right, guys, thank you very much for joining me tonight. I've really, really enjoyed the stream today. It's been great to have so many people in the chat. I think we almost reached about 50 at one point, which is a personal best this year. So thank you very much for doing that. I really do wish you all the best going forward. If any of you do well, if any of you have any questions, pop into my DMs. Ask Draft Gym. We've also got DMs open for our Draft Gym account as well. Make sure you get there and make sure you ask us, because we are more than happy to help you guys win some money. That is what this stream and what Draft Gym are all about. Right. Thank you very much again, guys, and we will see you next week, most probably, and we'll be talking about the next round of fixtures. Oi, oi. Cheers, guys. Bye-bye. Make sure you like and subscribe.